So as you can see in that image just there, you can see a lot of the things that for those tips there. So foot placement, that front foot is well outside that line. Like I said before, don't aim for your back foot to hit the line because you'll miss it. All right, so yeah, thanks for turning up to this. Well, like this sort of stuff is sort of, when you do turn up and you're taking advantage of this sort of thing, it really shows how much you are actually wanting to improve yourself. And you know, all of this information that I'm putting out here is completely free, and you know, there's a lot of information that I'm about to go through. So it'll definitely help you in one way or other with your beep test. Obviously, today is going to be specific to the beep test, and down the track, I'll be running more and more about like other things like your push-ups, pull-ups, all sorts of things. Always doing this sort of stuff. So for the people that don't know me, my name is Brody. I am the owner and trainer at Outperform Fitness, also the creator of the Defence Force Fitness Forum. So that's been around for a fair while now. So yeah, it's starting to get pretty big, and it's really good to see a lot of people taking advantage of all these types of things that we're putting on. So what I'm going to do is I've got a presentation. So I've set it up in a presentation format, and I'm just going to go through and smash through all of the information for you guys, and then like give you an opportunity to ask questions at the end, because I'm sure that there are some questions that'll pop into your head. Now, so you don't forget the questions as well, if you haven't got a pen and paper with you, there's a chat in here as well. I haven't used Zoom for a while, so it might take me a little bit to work my way around it. But yeah, there's a chat as well, so you can just pop it up in there. And then when we get to the end, at least that question's there, and you don't forget about it. Yeah, for those people that don't know, I do online personal training as well. So if anyone's got any questions about that, you can ask at the end. Like, I want this to be more about the actual beep test information that I want to put out. So if you have got questions about that, we'll give you a bit of time at the end. But yeah, we want to get all the questions about the actual beep test out of the way. If you're watching this in the live or in a replay, I'll put a link in the description for yeah, a bit more information with my online training. So let's get into this. All right, so we are going to chat about the beep test and all of the specifics to do with yeah, the actual test, training for it, and also technique side of things. And I've got a couple of videos that actually, I've got one video that I'll have a look at, and that's Lucy's. We'll put that up and yeah, see if we can find some faults with her beep test to try to help her improve with that as well. So the purpose with this beep test accelerator workshop is pretty much to give you guys a better understanding of the beep test and how to train for it so that you can improve your results. You know, knowledge is power. So if you know how to train for things, then it just makes things so much better. If you know why you're doing it, then you're a lot more motivated to do it as well. So what we're going to go over throughout this workshop, so we're going to start with the actual beep test. I've seen some people do it some funny ways. It seems straightforward, but it's not really, doesn't come across that way sometimes for some people. So I'm going to go over the actual test, what it actually tests and how to actually do it. Then we're going to go over some training tips. So I'm going to go over like a full sort of layout of how I program for people when they're trying to improve their beep test. And honestly, you've probably seen this format a lot of times if you've been watching some of my videos and stuff, because I use it for pretty much everything. Okay, and then we're going to go into some actual beep test technique tips. I've got a fair few good videos for you on that. And then we'll go into the technique reviews and a bit of a Q&A at the end. All right, let's get into it. So what is the beep test to start with? So it's a running test used to estimate an athlete's aerobic capacity. So that's your VO2 max. And if you don't know what that is, that's, to put it simple, it's the body's ability to put oxygen into the body and actually use it in the muscles. All right. A field test is not very accurate when it comes to determining someone's VO2 max. It sort of has to be done really at a lab to be able to test it, because when you're doing a field test, there's so many other things that can sort of inhibit you from actually reaching that. You know, your threshold's going to have a big part in it. your actual mental capacity, and your pain threshold as well. You could be stopping well before your VO2 max is predicted. So yeah, you just take it with a grain of salt because there are a lot of things that can be that can upset it. Okay, so it's pretty much 20-meter shuttles to a specific pace that progresses just about every 1 minute. So every level is about a minute, and that pace just gets faster and faster. It's as simple as that. All right, so here is the beep test. The beep test is a multi-stage fitness test conducted on a 20-meter non-slip surface, and it's designed to be able to predict your VO2 max. If you're using an outdoor netball court, the same as what I am in these videos, to get the correct measurement, just measure 33 centimeters back from the second line from the goalpost. The test starts at the sound of the beep. You must reach the other side with your foot on or over the line before the next beep. Ensure you do not leave the line until the sound of the beep. As the levels increase, the pace of the shuttles also increases.
Level 1, 3. Level 7, 6. Level 13, 10.
Remember, this is a max effort test.
Level 13, 11.
If you do not make it to the line before the beep, then you'll get a warning. If you miss 2 consecutive beeps, then that is the end of the test for you. All right, pretty simple stuff. So the main points with the beep test, it should be conducted on 20-meter flat non-slip surface. So you don't want any sort of gradient with it, because you want this thing not only to be replicated so you know what you're going to actually get on the day. If you will have pass marks and whatnot, you want to know whether you can actually pass on the day. But you want to be able to replicate it wherever you are as well. So if you're on, some track that's got a little bit of an incline, you're not going to be able to replicate that on a different track. So you want it nice and flat, non-slip surface. So that course, the netball court that I was on there, they're everywhere. So you're bound to find something. You can find a 20-meter strip of footpath. It doesn't really matter, just as long as it's flat. One thing is try to avoid doing it on grass or like anything slippery, so gravel or anything like that, because when we go into the techniques, I'll show you some techniques, and it's really hard to do that sort of stuff when you're worried about slipping. Even though you may not think you're slowing down, you subconsciously will be taking a lot more care in the corner, and you can't really go into it as fast as you can. So as well as that, you can't leave before the beep. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, foot must reach on or over the line before the next beep. And honestly, if you're aiming for your foot to be on the line, you have got some accuracy. Because I played around with that when I was doing those videos, and I'm telling you, don't worry about it. Just put your foot over the line. You can stretch out, but yeah, avoid just trying to go for the line, because you're thinking about way too much stuff. You're trying to do that, and you'll be slowing down way too much. And the speed increases each level. So it goes up, I think it's about 0.5 kilometer per hour each level. And the test ends once you miss 2 consecutive beeps. So you can miss a beep, and just as long as you catch up on the next one. So yeah, you just go until you fail. But yeah, most of the time, when you're done, and you just see people just pull out. Now, just remember, like I was saying before, a lot of times people's mind will be giving up before their actual body does. You need to believe that you can actually reach a certain level. And I'm going to, later in the techniques, I'm going to sort of give you a little bit of a tip on how to sort of strengthen up that mind and focus on smaller chunks rather than, your pass mark or something like that. But yeah, just remember, the body achieves what the mind believes, and it's super powerful. Yeah, your body is capable of so much more than what you think, and you don't know until you've actually done it. You will be surprised if you can set your mind right. I'm telling you, you'll be surprised with what you can actually do. All right, let's get into some training tips. So before I start these training tips, I want you just to have a bit of basic understanding when it comes to energy systems. So you don't need to get into these much at all. I just wanted to explain so that when we get into the training, you understand where we're sort of aiming for. So with energy systems in the body, that is how your body produces energy, and it uses different systems depending on the intensity that you're sort of putting out. All right, you think of someone lifting 100 kilos, like doing a 100 kilo squat is a lot different, is a lot more intense than if he's just going for a leisurely jog. Okay, so it uses different energy systems. Now, out of those energy systems, we've got two that that does not use oxygen to create that energy. And then we've got one that does use oxygen to create that energy. So the two that don't use the oxygen, they're the most powerful ones, but they're very short-lived. Now, just take note that these energy systems, no matter what point of like exertion you are, they're being used all the time. It's just that one's more dominant than the other. And there may be times throughout, like a long run or something, where your lactic system might come into play because you're going up a steep hill or something like that. All right. So yeah, they're all in play. Now, the very first aerobic one is the ATP PC system. And that lasts, I know the chart says 10 seconds there, but it can last up to 15 seconds long in a highly trained athlete. And it has the highest amount of output, but it's very short duration. So it runs out of energy very quickly. Then we got the second anaerobic one, which is the lactic system, and that lasts up to 90 seconds. Again, I know it says 60 seconds there, but it can last up to 90 seconds, and that's moderate power output. It's still a lot of power that comes out of that, but only for moderate duration, so 90 seconds long. It's still not very long at all. Now, anything above that, that is your aerobic system. That is dominant. Okay, it's got the lowest amount of power output, but it can still have a decent amount if you're in that lower end, but it has the longest duration. So it's more efficient at creating that energy. And that is the one that we need to train to improve your beep test. Okay, so it's just really good to have an understanding that, yeah, we're going after that aerobic system. Those other ones, if you're just doing flat out max effort 10-second sprints, it will definitely have an effect depending on what phase of training you're in, but the biggest effect will come from training that aerobic system, and there's many different ways to do that. All right, so what do we need to train to try to improve your beep test? Like I said before, your aerobic system, that's the number one thing that we're trying to build up. Your strength, that'll definitely have a really big part as well, because those turns will become easier. You get a lot more muscle endurance, but we're not going to have too much. I'm not going to go over the strength side of it. It's just going to be that aerobic energy system. We're also going to plug in some speed and agility and skill of the actual beep test, because it comes in these phases that I've created, and they all sort of lock into each other. So the strength, just forget about that for now. Maybe I'll do another presentation on strength side of things. Okay, so when it comes to training for the beep test, but honestly, I use this for like if we're building up strength, if we're just conditioning to another event that's going on. This is sort of the system that I use. So we start with the base, the most easiest type stuff, but you need a base. You cannot create a high pyramid if you've got a tiny little base, all right? A pyramid can only go as high as its base. So you want to create that big base to start with so that you've got stuff to stack on top. Then we'll go into the build phase, more intense stuff, and then peak is when we go into like really like beep test specific type stuff and high-end type training. Okay, so moving on. So during the base phase, the main goal that you should be aiming for is just to improve your ability to run longer at a low intensity. So I'm not talking like run 5K as fast as you can or run 10K as fast as you can. You want to be keeping it at a low intensity and just running longer, all right? Because there's big benefits. There's completely different training stimuluses depending on the intensity that you have to produce. All right, it has a different effect on the body. Now, when we're in this low intensity state, we're increasing our cardiac output. So with that, we're improving our body's ability to deliver oxygen to the working muscles. Right, that's the big thing, because with our heart, if the intensity is too high, it's not able to expand and contract at its biggest. Whereas if we're working at the low intensity, it's able to do this and it adapts. So it gets bigger and bigger. Now at the high intensity stuff, it's really good as well because it needs to push harder and then the actual muscles in the heart get thicker, but it doesn't expand as much as it can. It just doesn't have that chance. And that's when this low intensity training really comes into play. All right. As well as that, we start to improve some muscular endurance specific to running. So everyone would have felt this if you haven't run for a while or you've never run before, and then you go out to start trying to run, your legs and everything just feel like lead. Okay, that's because you got no muscle endurance specific to the running, and it needs to be specific to running. Yes, cross training definitely helps with all this sort of stuff, but when you're trying to improve something, you need to do that thing because your nervous system works a specific way to fire all of those muscles in a certain pattern. Your blood flow changes to the muscles. There's so much that goes on that needs to be specific to that actual thing that you want to improve. Now, during this low intensity phase as well, like in the base phase, what we can really work on is improving our breathing when we're running, because we're in a low fatigue, we're keeping it low intensity. So in this phase, we can really work on improving our breathing. You know, we can go for runs and just try to breathe in and out of our nose, like just do nasal breathing the whole time. You can sort of do little breath holds throughout to try to keep control of your breathing. There's so many different techniques that you can do, but the biggest one is just making sure you've got control over your breath and not just panting all the time. And in this low intensity, low fatigue type of training, really good opportunity to do it. And as well as that, it's a really good opportunity to work on your running economy, like your technique. So you can ingrain that in and have a really good running technique for when you start to get into, into that higher intensity stuff where you start to fatigue and you have to just try to hold on to it a little bit more. All right. Now, when we're training, we're always looking for metrics to try to improve, try to track stuff, try to, just progress, everything like that. So metrics that we'll be looking at in the low intensity, so in this base phase, you're looking at your resting heart rate. That should be lowering. Like I said before, your heart will start to adapt and it'll start to be able to expand more. And so it's got more stroke volume in the one hit. So your resting heart rate should reduce by a couple of beats at least. You should be able to run longer. That's a pretty obvious one. Run longer and not just feel like you're going to die. And for the more advanced guys, if you're not looking to run longer, but say you can run comfortable 40 minutes, what you can do with that is set like a specific heart rate, say 80%, and you run for 40 minutes. And then over time, the more and more you do it, you should see that distance getting more and more, even though you're keeping that intensity at the same pace, because you're getting more efficient at that running. You're getting that cardiac output, like the increase in the cardiac output, everything that goes along with that. So you should be making more and more distance as you go. All right, so the duration that I usually put people through with this, it all depends on the level of fitness that they're already at, the amount of time that you've got before, you've got to do your test, but you want to spend a decent amount of time in this phase because, it should make up the bulk of your training. So 4 to 8 weeks is just a general guideline of how long to stay in it. Now you want to be doing like at least 2 to 4 workouts a week. Now the duration is working around about the 30 to 90 minutes at that low intensity that I was talking about. If you can't run for 30 minutes, then that's fine. Walk, run, whatever you need to do, up to 30 minutes, up to 60 minutes. And that will accumulate because that walking is also training that same stuff. So if you're really low like if you've got a really low fitness, even though you are walking portions of it, it's still building up that, that fitness the same. Okay. And yeah, for those guys that are like more advanced, the beginners, it doesn't really, like the percentage increase each week, the progression each week, it really depends on where you're starting. But the more advanced guys, you want to be working with around about 10 to 15% progression each week. And that's in either duration, so the time that you're actually running, or distance, or whatever metric that you're using. So a couple of example workouts for targets for you to reach before you finish this base phase. So if you're at below level 5 in the beat test, and I've put this up a fair bit, is that yeah, you should be trying to reach 20 minutes of continuous running in that zone 1. So I'll show you the zones in a second, in that low intensity zone. And then if you're less than 7.5, then you should be working up to try to run 40 minutes in that low, in that zone 1, which is the low intensity zone. If you're above that, like I said, those suggestions before, hitting 40, 60 minutes at a set intensity, and just try to keep progressing that with the distance. Okay, so this is the intensity chart that I use for all my clients to give them an idea of sort of where they should be working with their training. So just one thing as well is, when you're in this base phase, it doesn't mean all of your training has to be in this low intensity. You can put some higher intensity stuff in there. It's just, it should be predominantly this low intensity stuff. So yeah, as you can see here, it's just a bit of a chart of, how you should feel, your maximum heart rate, and RPE, which is your rate of perceived exertion. It's like, what you rate this, like the hardness to be, pretty much. So the scale of 1 to 10. And I've also got a talk test up there as well. So that's the base phase that I put people through. Now we move into the next level of the pyramid, which is the build phase. So the goal of this one is to improve your ability to run faster for longer. So we were just trying to run longer before. It doesn't matter, how fast you're running. You're trying to stay at a nice steady pace. Now we're trying to pick up that pace a little bit. So you won't be able to run for as long, but you want to be running faster and longer than, obviously, than what you were before. So this one, we're trying to increase our anaerobic threshold. So I'm going to go over that in a little bit. Don't need to get your head around it. You don't need to really worry about a massive amount. You just need to understand how you train it, pretty much, and what you should be aiming for when you're hitting this sort of phase. Another thing in this phase is, you might even be improving your anaerobic threshold. You may just be improving your own pain threshold and your mental capacity. Like I was talking about before, it's not always the body that's actually stopping you. It's a lot of the time it's your mind that's stopping. All right, so this is a really good opportunity to work that now that we're stepping up that intensity and keeping the distance still relatively long. Again, we're improving breathing. Now that we're starting to fatigue a little bit more, you want to really concentrate on getting that breathing good. And again, with that running technique, so really good running economy and holding it even when you're under fatigue, because if you can hold good running economy, you're going to be a lot more efficient. So you're going to get further. You're going to use less energy to run a certain time or distance or whatever you're doing. Okay, some metrics that you want to be using. Running pace, so you should be seeing your running pace go up, and your heart rate as well, because you should be working at that higher intensity, and I'll show you the zone in a second. And you should also be using more distance with set time and intensity. So again, the same as before, like with when I was saying that go for a 40-minute run, 80% heart rate. Now you step that heart rate up, so up into 85%, 90%, and doing it for 5 minutes and see how the distance goes. Okay, so this is your anaerobic threshold. Like I said, don't get your head wrapped around it too much. You just need to understand your anaerobic threshold is the intensity at which your body starts to switch. So this is where those energy systems come into play, where your body starts to switch from predominantly aerobic and it starts to go into that lactic and anaerobic energy system. And when it starts to do that, that's when it starts to accumulate a lot of lactate, which results in fatigue, and you start to really fatigue and fall apart. Now, the lactate is not what causes the fatigue, but it's associated with it. And when there is a rise in lactate, that's when you start to fatigue, okay? So, yeah, as you can see, these are in this chart here, it's pretty much the phases that I'm showing you right now. So that aerobic threshold there, that low intensity training, that's that base phase that I'm talking about. Now in the middle here, just before you're hitting your anaerobic threshold, so you're still accumulating a lot of lactate there, but it's still moderate to high intensity. You're still not going, you're trying to avoid going above that anaerobic threshold. You want that intensity still to be high enough to be creating lactate, but low enough so that you can still recover and go in for the next one. Now, you can increase your anaerobic threshold really well. That is one thing that is really trainable. Now, your VO2 max, you won't see that increase massively. That's a very genetic based thing. You can train it, but it's not a thing that is huge. Whereas your anaerobic threshold, you can train that really well. Your body gets really good at reuptaking that lactate and actually using it as energy to keep going. And you get used to that pain threshold. Everything that goes in there goes like in that sort of intensity. All right. So the reason I explained that right here, this is your VO2 max versus your anaerobic threshold. That's what that ANT is there. So I've got 3 different athletes. And like I was talking about before, your VO2 max, it is trainable, but it is predominantly just, it's genetic. So you can increase it, but not by a massive amount. So just having a look at these athletes here, the top of the blue is their VO2 max, and the top of the yellow is their threshold. Now, as you can see, you can have a really high VO2 max, but your threshold may be really low. So in this example here, if these athletes were to go off and do, I don't know, a 10, 15K max effort run, athlete 3 will be the one that actually wins the race, even though his VO2 max isn't the highest, but he can sustain a higher effort of that VO2 max. So he's going to be able to run faster for longer without fatiguing. Whereas athlete 1 and 2, even though there's a big difference in the VO2 max there, they're both pretty much going to come in at the same time because they got the thresholds are at the same level, even though that athlete 1 has got a really low VO2 max. So as you can see in this example, training that threshold can really, really improve your performance. All right, so with this build phase, it's a bit, you want it shorter. So it does accumulate a fair bit of fatigue here because you are working at higher intensities. So you don't want it as long as your base phase. So around about 4 to 6 weeks, but these are just guidelines. Like it's all different. You want at least 3 to 5 workouts in total for the week, but only 1 to 2 of them are that sort of moderate intensity threshold type training. You don't want to be doing too many through the week because they're just too hard to recover from, and you'll end up just plummeting yourself into the ground. And we're working in zone 2, and I'll show you the zones again in a second. Now, some example workouts, some targets to aim for in this build phase. So working less, if you are less than level 5 on the beat test, now that you've built up your running, you can do 20 minutes worth of running. A really good thing to aim for is 3 to 4 sets of a 5-minute run at around about a 5 to 6 minutes per kilometer pace for your run. So you're going to get, a K or a little bit under within that 5 minutes. And in between those sets, you have around about a 3-minute walk. And you can progress these. So you can start off with shorter distance, like shorter time if you want, and try to hit that pace and then progress that time over a couple of weeks. or you can reduce the rest. You don't want to reduce it too much. If we're working threshold training, you want to be working with around about 2 to 1 with your work rest, approximately. All right. So two work and 1 rest. So if you're doing 2 minutes worth of work, you're only doing you're doing 1 minute's worth of rest, because you want to be not recovering fully. You still want that accumulation of lactate, because that's what we're trying to build up. But we want to still recover enough so that we can actually get into that zone and hit that intensity. Now, if you're less than level 7.5, then yeah, same as above, but you're aiming for around about 4 to 5 minutes per kilometer. So you just faster paces. And then guys above that, just keep going. You can either increase the time, you can increase the pace that you're doing. There's a lot of variables that you can play around with. Okay, so with the build phase, we're hitting that zone 2. That's the main target there, is we're wanting to improve in that zone 2 area. So 80-90% max heart rate. You can only talk in broken sentences, and there's a lot of fatigue building up. But it's still sustainable. Like over those intervals that I was talking about, you can still sustain that pace over those intervals. Okay, now that we've gone through the base, we've done the build, now we're hitting the peak. So the purpose of the goal for this peak phase is to improve your beep test specific power. So because we are aiming at this beep test, that's what we really want to start diving into. So you want to be working to try to increase your VO2 max. Like I said, it's not a massive thing that you can do, but there's a lot of benefits with training to try and improve that VO2 max. Everything improves. Okay. You want to be improving your speed as well, because obviously this pace of those those shuttles, you want to be able to keep up with them. So you want to improve that speed. You want to improve your agility, so the ability to take off fast, the acceleration, as well as slowing down and turning around. And along with that, you want to improve your actual beep test technique. So this is where I like to slot this in, and you start to work on that actual technique of the beep test. It's just a really good spot to slot it in there. But you can work on it throughout all of it. This is just like where I like to put it in, so that you're not just overdoing the beep test. So metrics, working on running pace, obviously trying to build up that speed there, and your beep test score is another one we can use. Now this one, because it is a high intensity phase, we want to keep it relatively short. So 2 to 4 weeks, you just want to be peaking it up. So if you need more practice with the beep test technique, then obviously start it in the build phase, 4 weeks previous to that. Again, 3 to 5 workouts in total, but you only want 1 to 2 of these high intensity type workouts in there, because again, just accumulates a lot of fatigue, and there's just no point doing a lot more of them, because you just won't get any benefits out of it. We're trying to hit zone 3 with this one. So an example workout with this one, with the target. So just working off your top beep test, or what you wish or think you can, or not so much wish, you won't be able to really use that, but what you think you should be able to get to after your base and your build phase. So you want to start 1 level below that, and then go to that level, and then you have a strict 2-minute rest, and you repeat that 3 times. So what is that essentially? It's an interval of 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. So like I said before, with your threshold training, you want a 2 to 1. With your VO2 max, you pretty much want a 1 to 1. So 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. But what else are we doing here? We're improving our agility, because we have to speed up, slow down. We're working on our beep test specific skills, so working on our technique as well. And when we're using that beep test to train with, and staying at those higher levels, it gives you some accountability to actually run at that pace and keep at those higher intensities, rather than just backing it off. All right. So build phase, that should be peak phase, sorry. Yeah, in that peak phase, we're trying to hit that zone 3. So progressions that we can do with that workout is, go higher with the levels. We can do more intervals. things like that. You don't want to reduce the rest with that one because you won't be able to hit the right intensity to be getting the benefits out of it. Okay, guys, so now I'm going to move into some technique tips. So I've done up a whole heap of video for you, so you get the most out of this. So yeah, I'm going to go into these technique tips, just play the videos, and you can just watch them. So I've got five top ones. We've got foot placement, we've got pivot, lean, timing, and alternate your bloody legs. So as you can see in that image just there, you can see a lot of the things that for those tips there. So foot placement, that front foot is well outside that line. Like I said before, don't aim for your back foot to hit the line because you'll miss it. The pivot, I'll show you that pivot in one of the videos. Lean, look, that is me legitimately doing the beep test. That is how I do the beep test. I'm not just putting that on for this picture. Okay, so that lean helps with your acceleration to actually get out of that corner. Your timing, obviously you can't see that with that, but we'll go over it, and alternating your legs. So let's get into the videos. This tip for the beep test is all about foot placement. Now, when you're conducting the beep test, only one foot has to reach on or over the line. So what you want to do when you're practicing is figure out where that front foot is going to land when your back foot crosses the line. Now, I wouldn't suggest aiming for your back foot to touch the line because you have to be way too accurate for that and you'll bugger it up at some point. So figure out where that front foot has to land outside of that line, and that's what you concentrate on going into the turn. What you want to avoid is both feet crossing the line. Now, this mightn't seem like much at the start, but over the course of the beep test, this will accumulate a lot more distance. This beep test tip is all about pivoting on that front foot when you come into the turn. Now you'll notice as I go into the turn, I place all the weight on my front foot and pivot around it so that when my back foot lands just outside the line, I'm ready to accelerate out of the turn. Now another thing I want you to take notice of, once I've completed the pivot, when I'm ready to accelerate out of the turn, you'll notice I'm in a proper sprinting position, like a starting position. My arms are alternated with my legs and I'm leant over, ready to accelerate out. Things that you want to avoid is anything that's going to slow down the turn. So any kind of hook turn where you go up to the line and you do a really big winding turn, or anything that you have to stop and turn with. Even if you are still pivoting, if you're pivoting on both feet, it is much slower as if you go up to the line and just pivot on that one foot and you're ready to accelerate straight away. This beep test tip is to get you to lean over that front leg so that you can accelerate out of the turn. Being able to accelerate out of the turn quickly will make a huge difference with your beep test score. And when it comes to acceleration, momentum is your friend. So you need to be leaning over that front foot so that you've got the momentum to accelerate out of the turn. As you pivot when you're conducting your turn, keep all the weight over that front leg by leaning into it. This will allow you to accelerate out of the turn quickly. Your back leg is just there to touch across the line and spring you out of the turn. What you want to avoid is staying upright during the turn because you're unable to accelerate quickly from this position. Timing your shuttles throughout the beep test is super important because for one, it'll save you energy so that you're not wasting energy running too quickly when you don't need to. But as well as that, it'll allow you to spring out of the turns by utilizing the elasticity in your muscles to create that force rather than creating it from a stationary position. During the early levels, you just need to take your time. You don't have to get to the line on the beep just because they are pretty slow to start with. You just need to take your time and stay relaxed and don't waste a whole heap of energy sprinting into the other end when you don't need to. As the levels increase, you'll start to find your timing. And what you want is to be reaching the line at the beep so that that back foot
Level
crosses the line and
13,
touches the
3.
ground as the next beep goes, so that you can just spring off into the
Level
next
13,
shuttle.
4. Level 13.
During the earlier stages of the beep test, you want to be alternating your legs each shuttle. This is so that you don't burn out one of your legs just turning on that side every time. If you are much better turning on the one leg, then wait until the shuttles get a little bit faster before you just favouring the one side. A good way to practice this is just by using one line and just walking up to the line, turning on each side. The more comfortable you get with it, just speed up the movement until you're doing it at full speed. Righty, so that's it for the beep test technique tips. Now, when you're practicing these things, just take it really easy. Just have a line like I had there, just a couple of markers, and just use that one line, just walking back and forth like I was doing, and just really dial it in without any sort of speed at all. Get that pivot, get that lean. Everything can be done at a walking pace to start with, so that's really ingrained in you, so that when you do actually go to speed it up, you can still stick to it. So just do it walking to start with, then start jogging. Again, just use that same line, jog in, take off, and make sure when you're taking off out of it, you don't just sort of just take it really easy and just sort of flop out of it. Actually accelerate out of it. That makes a huge difference, that acceleration from that corner, and that first like quarter of your beep test will really set you up for the other side. So yeah, do it, go in doing it jogging, and then start to do it full speed. Now, once you can do it full speed, then start actually practicing it with the audio. So get the beep test set up and start to practice it with the beep test going as well. Okay, so a couple of bonus tips here. Now, breathing. Breathing is a big one if you're not being conscious of it. So what you need to do, especially in those very first, few levels that, shouldn't be taking too much effort, is just really concentrate on your body relaxing and breathing properly. Breathe in through your nose, keeping everything like super relaxed and nice, big, deep breaths. And if you've been practicing it through your base and build and peak phase, then this should just be a no-brainer for you. It should be happening already. Now, micro goals and resets. Like I was saying before, your mind is a huge part in this. A really good technique, and this is not just with the beep test, it's with so many different things, but yeah, you can do it with the beep test as well. So what you want to be doing is setting micro goals. Now, what you don't want to do is be like, okay, I've only got to get to 7.5. That's all I'm doing. You don't want to be setting a goal that you're finished. You want to be breaking it up, just bracketing this thing into, smaller chunks. So if you're at level 5, all right, let's just think about level 5.6, okay? Let's concentrate on 5.6. 5.6, do your shuttles. All right, that's 5.6, reset. And your mind is really good at forgetting what you just did. So now let's concentrate on 6.2. 6.2, let's go to 6.2. All right, 6.2. Next, what are we going to do? All right, do that. And I can assure you, your mind it's really good at doing that sort of stuff. And make sure you just, once you get there, you reset, you're on to the next one. It's not setting goals that, let's just go to 6.5. That's all I'm doing. I just need to make it a 6.5. That's not what you're doing. You're bracketing up and setting those, you're just concentrating on a smaller portion rather than thinking, shit, I've got to go all the way to 7.5. That's ages away. Don't even think about 7.5. Just think about, to start with 3.5, 4.5 or whatever it is for you. Okay. Don't stress over missed timings. So like I was saying before, you get a warning if you miss one beep, but you can catch it up on the next one. So don't think you have to be flat out and make it to the line before the beep. Who cares? A lot of times I miss a beep in those very first few stages because I'm just taking it too slow, and then you can just pick it up on the next one. And then even the same thing happens when you're going like at a faster pace as well. Don't think just because you missed one beat, you're out. You can catch it up. So if your mind's strong and you can catch up to that one, you know, you've got a couple more in you that you can maybe get, you can maybe improve your score. And your shoes, all right? I've actually run into some issues with shoes with the beat test of rolling under my feet. So you don't really want to be wearing, if you've got the option here, you don't really want to be wearing like long distance road running type shoes with a whole heap of cushion, because they haven't got much stability and they roll around. More of the type of shoe that you want to be wearing with a beat test is more like a trainer, like a flat sole, and they're a little bit harder to, and they don't really roll around on your feet. And you'll find when you're gripping into those corners, you can grip and go a lot better than if you were trying to do it with something big, big and soft and cushiony on your feet. All right. So that is the presentation done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump into Lucy's, looking at ourselves there, jump into Lucy's beat test, and let's just have a bit of a review here. Okay, so very first thing, what do we see when we're looking at this? It's on grass. So yeah, I've done beat tests 100 times on grass as well, and I know how much of a difference it actually makes. Yeah, you don't want to be slipping like those techniques I showed you. You just want that back foot touching. And if you're slipping, that's a massive amount of time. If you're really up there in your top levels, it'll stop you pretty quick. So you want to do it, yeah, if you can find like a netball court or something like that, away from grass, away from gravel, so that you don't have to worry about your corners at all. If there's any sort of, you know, dew on there or anything, or just grass in general is really slippery. Another thing that you could do, if you've got footy boots, I've done that before, you can chuck some footy boots on and at least you got some grip there. All right, so looking at her actual attempt at the beat test, you'll have to, I've had a quick look, you have to excuse the fan yelling.
Level 1.
So, first level, completely
Wait,
fine.
will it have that red circle and the thing?
Looks nice
The
and
screen,
relaxed.
and that's how you know that's recording? Okay, thank God.
Level 1.
Looks nice and relaxed, just taking it easy, which is really good. That's what we want. Now let's build up the levels a little bit.
Level 1. 6.
So let's go up to
Level 2. 7. Level 3. 1.
okay, we're up to level
Go,
3.
Lucy! Is that a
Level
good thing?
3.
Right,
2.
see, there's no lean there or anything like that, so you're staying really upright.
Come on,
That's
Lucy,
really-
super close.
Level 3.
and all your weight was on that back foot there as well. So all your weight's over the line, so that acceleration around that
Level
corner,
3. 4.
you're really struggling with. So yeah, let's have a look once we build up a little bit more fatigue here.
Come on, Lucy, try to get the 4.
Level 4. 1.
Yeah, Lucy! I love this.
Good encouragement.
Level 4. 2.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously those turns are the biggest part of it. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Okay. So Lucy, are you on here? Yes. Just unmute yourself. Could you see the differences in, like, from what I was showing you with the technique compared to what you're doing on your beat test?
Yes, definitely. Even watching it back, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's honestly, when you haven't done much practice with the beat test, or even some people that have done lots of practice with it, that upright sort of posture, stopping at the turns, it happens all the time. So just fixing up, get those 5 tips, start to implement them and start to practice them on a non-slip surface, and I reckon you'll start to build up that score pretty quickly. All right, beautiful. So that is it. Technique review is done. I only had the one video in, so I'll just check out this chat here. See if there's any questions. So has anyone got any questions for me at all?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, go for it.
I just would like to know, what is your recommendation before you have your beep test? Like the day before, you should training, you should just walk, you just don't do anything.
Yeah, so the day before, so you're talking about the day before? Yeah, the day before you shouldn't. Some people like to, it depends on your level of fitness. If you're a really good runner, then, you know, going for an easy run the day before sort of wakes up the muscles, because think about when you come back from a weekend off. So you've had the Saturday, Sunday off, and then the Monday comes around. A lot of the time you sort of feel a little bit sluggish because you haven't been doing anything the couple of days before. Yes, you're really recovered, but it's sort of good to do something to wake up the muscles at least. You know, go for an easy, like a really light jog, nothing that's going to make you sore. You want to be walking away from it feeling better than when you started. So nothing high intensity, nothing long, just something to wake the muscles up. You know, walking, you said, that's a really good one. Just light jogging if you're a good runner. Yeah, you still want to try to do, you know, something small the day before, but, you know, the day before that is probably a good day for a rest day. So rest day the 2 days before, something really easy the day before, and then you go into and do your beep test. Now on this as well, this come to light a fair few years ago, a lot of years ago for me, but the importance of being recovered going into an actual test is so big. You don't even realize that you've accumulated a lot of fatigue through your training until you don't have it. Like, it doesn't feel like you are when you've just done it the whole time. But if you actually have a proper recovery week the week before, if you've done a plenty amount of training leading up to it, having a good week off, no, I won't say week off, but an easier week with training, you'll go into the beep test not really feeling any different, but all of a sudden you're on. It makes a really big difference, because what happens when you're training and you're going through that build phase, you're going through that peak phase, you're accumulating a lot of fatigue in the body that just takes time to recover from. If you continue to train right up until that beep test, sometimes you have to because you just haven't got the time there. But if you've got that time and you don't have to train all the way up to that beep test, yeah, you're just able to rid your body of all that fatigue. Your muscles and your tendons, everything are allowed to recover really well, and you'll just go into it like so much better. But I say that with a grain of salt, because having a week off beforehand, if you think, oh, Brody said you need to recover, have the week off, that's going to make it worse for you. Right? So yeah, don't have the week off. It's a recovery week. You're still doing stuff. It's just a lot easier than what you're doing previous to that.
Great, thank you. And I have one more question.
Yeah, go.
For example, in regards with the food, like depend, I don't know if the big test is in the morning or in lunchtime or in the afternoon, how I should just control my food.
Yeah. So with that sort of thing, you should figure it out with your training. So if you know when your beep test is going to be, then obviously you want to be like putting some high intensity training in at that time of the week and the day that you're actually going to do your beep test, if it's possible for you. And then you can play around and, you know, have a bit of food beforehand, see how you feel. You know, if you feel like crap, then space it out a little bit further. If you have no idea, then a good suggestion, and it all depends on the time of the day. But in the mornings, honestly, like a beep test, your nutrition is not going to be a massive factor unless you've had, leading up to that, really bad nutrition for a couple of days. On the day, you'd have enough energy store to last you. Like it's when it gets into like the big endurance events, or if you're a really high level athlete and you're going to be going really high on the beep test, it's not going to have a massive effect. So yeah, just to have like a couple of hours out, if you can, just have a little bit to eat. So you got that little bit of energy there and you just feel better as well. It is pretty much the best advice. But leading up to it, the couple of days, the week before is the best time to, you know, be concentrating on your nutrition and making sure you're eating properly, fueling properly, and not just eating crap and creating a whole heap of inflammation in the body. And hydration would probably be even more important than what you're eating. Yeah, there's yeah. And when it comes to like the time of day, you know, it's really hard to sort of give nutrition advice because it all comes down to the person as well. Because you know, some people can eat straight beforehand. Some people, I perform when it's running. One thing I cannot have if I'm going to be doing high intensity running, because it makes me perform really bad, is coffee. I love having coffee and stuff through the day, and if I'm doing strength work and that. But if I'm out doing intervals, and that includes a beep test, I will not have a coffee. And that's just because I know I've done it before, and I've trolled this sort of stuff. It makes me sick. So but you just need to troll things for yourself. So when you've got high intensity type training on, you know, figure out what works for you. You just want something light, you know, no more than an hour within.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else got questions?
I've got a quick questions, but I can see that Rohel has picked up his hand. So I'm not sure if you want to ask some questions, or should I go ahead?
Say that again. What's that?
Can you hear me clear?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, I would like to ask you a question, but I can see Rohel has raised up his hand. So I'm not sure if you want to ask any questions before I go ahead.
Yeah, do you want to ask a question?
I'm sorry, I was raised it before.
Oh, you got bad reception there. Maybe write it in the chat for us, because we can't hear real well. So write it in the chat, and I'll have a read. So Tanva, you go.
Okay, so as you already know, my PFI is like in Thursday morning at 9 a.m. I think the routine you give me for today, just like a light run for 20 minutes, and tomorrow is just a walk. Listening to all these tips, I feel like just quickly go for a big test now, just to double check, you know, before I can do 8 again. But I feel like I shouldn't be doing it because I'll make my legs a bit sore.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, you know, whatever exercise I've done for the last couple of months, I will be all right for.
Yeah, what you can do on the day before, where it's just a walk or whatever, you can just go down to a park and, you know, put some of these things into play, that like the tips, and just walk them. So just walk them and maybe do a little bit of a jog and see if they feel all right for you, and see if you can just play around with that. Yeah, don't go out and do a beep test, because there's no real point of doing it. But yeah, like go down and practice a little bit of technique. Just don't do too much. Because if you're doing a lot of turns and you don't realize it because you're thinking about all the technique side of things, you can fatigue yourself pretty quickly and end up with sore calves and stuff going into the actual beep test that matters.
That's it. Thank you very much.
No worries. All right. We don't have anything in the chat. All right. Has anyone got any more questions? No. That's it. I'll give you this couple of seconds. I'll just check in the group as well. I remember we're being live in the group.
I've actually got a quick question.
Yeah, go.
Apart from the exercise and stuff that you give us through the app, is it doing too much if I say like doing running like every morning or so, or yeah?
So it all depends on how much running you're doing and what sort of intensity you're doing at, and how much we're programming in for you as well. If you're just doing a little bit of running, then it's completely fine. Like if you're not pulling up sore from it for anything like that, a light run of a morning every day is completely fine, and it's a really good way to condition your body to actually running. Like don't use it as a development type run. So you're not trying to run harder, run faster or anything like that. You're just going for a run. And what it does, it'll strengthen up those muscles. It'll get them firing the way, you know, that they're used to firing that way. Like I said, everything works like it has to be really specific to the fitness that you want to improve. So you're trying to improve all of that sort of stuff, and you get really conditioned to it as well. Yeah, there's no problem with that whatsoever, just as long as you're not overdoing it. And obviously you got to, you know, that's on you. If you start to feel a bit sluggish, sore, or anything like that, you sort of need to back it off a little bit. But yeah, that's completely fine.
And then, like, is 30 minutes like a good time frame for that, or maybe longer or shorter, or just depends?
Is that for you just a walk run?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep. Yeah, 30 minutes, like a walk run, 30 minutes every day. That's really good exercise. Like and it's completely fine to add something like that. Just as long as, you know, you regulate it yourself. So if you do have a really big run day and you think it's going to affect it, or maybe you're still really sore from the run day before, you just play it by ear with that. But yeah, 30 minutes of easy exercise like that is completely fine. Yeah, for sure. It'll condition you really. Like it's a good opportunity to work on the technique side of things as well. So yeah, working that low intensity. Actually, that's something that I didn't bring up with the beat test. Is a really good thing to do is to actually condition to the test environment as well. Esteban was talking about the time of day. That's a big part of it. But other things as well is actually get into DFR or police recruiting, whatever it is that you're doing, and go in and do a practice test with them watching you, you know, other people around, because some people perform really well in those environments. Some people perform really bad. So you need to know which one you are. If you are someone that performs really bad in that environment, you need to do it more. It's a part of conditioning. It's a part of that fitness of it. Like it's an element of it, so that you can still perform well no matter when you are doing it. All right. So yeah, get in and do as many practice PFAs as you can, or, you know, get friends around and just condition yourself into that sort of thing. But don't put it off. Don't think, oh, I don't really want to go in and get people watching me or anything like that, because that's the whole point of it. You want people watching you. You want, you know, well, Esteban just went through his practice OSB and it made a huge difference by the sounds of things for him, which I could imagine it would. You get rid of those nerves, sort of you condition yourself to be used to it. And it's a thing that we use in the Defence Force all the bloody time. They put you in stressful environments so that you know what it feels like and you can still perform under the pressure. All right, we got the question. I had a question about stretching up before the beat test. Do you reckon statics, dynamics? Yeah, no, it's all good. So yeah, like there's a big hate on static stretching over the last fair few years. But honestly, like there's no problem in it whatsoever, just as long as you're not really going crazy with it. The best type of stretching before you're running is dynamic. So if you don't know what the difference is, the static stretching is when you're just standing there and you're just doing a hamstring stretch and you're just loosening things up that way. Dynamic is you're doing a leg swing as you're running. You're doing some sort of skipping drill to try to mobilize the hips and get the calves going and everything. So yeah, the static and dynamic, the sort of bad name that static's been getting is the fact that when you stretch it a lot, that it dampens the sensors in it. So you can't contract it as well as what it normally would if you've stretched it a lot. But if you're like tight for the day and a little bit of static stretching is going to loosen that up, then yeah, do a little bit of static stretching. I do see dynamic as better, and it's just a better it's just a better way because you can incorporate it into some like power type movements, so like skipping and all that sort of thing, so you can really switch those muscles on. But yeah, throw it in there. What I like to do is do a little bit of static stuff to start with, just to loosen up a little bit, but it's nothing that's going to dampen the muscles, like the nervous system. There's no way. and then yeah, go into some dynamic stuff and real like getting to some actual power things to switch on the muscles leading into it. But yeah, like the beep test is pretty much designed so that you warm up on the way. So yeah, but always do some form of warm up. A good thing to do before the beep test is make sure you raise. I don't know if I'll end up doing this for you because a lot of people just go straight into the beep test, but actually do something to raise your heart rate up to 80% or around about, and hold it there for a little bit, and to get that blood flow around. Even though, yes, the start of the beep test is slow and it gives you that opportunity to sort of warm up as you go. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't allow you to come back from it. What happens when you warm up too quickly is your heart rate spikes and you can't get it back down. Like once you go up to that level, it's really hard to, and especially with the beep test, because you're just going to keep going. So your heart rate's going to spike, the speed's going to keep going faster and faster. So it's going to become a problem. So when you go out and do something to get your heart rate up, open up all the blood vessels in your body, your heart rate's going to stay lower for longer, right? So it's a really good thing to do. And I have tested this sort of stuff on myself. You do it yourself with heart rate monitors. That's the beauty of having that sort of data on yourself and going out and practicing all of this stuff. I've done it without warm-ups. I've done it and even like going out and doing hard training without warm-ups. Yeah, your heart rate, mine does anyway, it goes through the roof, and you fatigue a lot quicker rather than going out and doing a decent warm-up to start with. Go through all your mobility drills, and that's warming you up as well. Mobility drills, a little bit of running, do some power stuff to really switch on the muscles, and you'll be good to go. All right.
Can you hear me, Brody?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, I'm actually doing my PFA in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, they're in the middle of sorting that all out now. And knowing that I was jumping online tonight to watch the seminar, I was like, okay, I'll see where I'm sitting at on the beep test. Did it today with absolutely shocking form. After watching your video, I'm sitting there going, wow, I definitely need to work on that. But even with shocking form, like I stopped, I think I got to about an 8.3.
Okay, good.
So I'm really actually quite keen to see how I go with a decent technique, to be honest.
Sure. Yeah, it'll make a big difference.
Yeah, that'll be insane. Like that'll just be a personal goal kind of thing. But that's unreal
awesome.
What I've taken away from it. So thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, and practice it. So you're not going to get it perfect, and it's probably going to feel really weird, and you're going to be thinking about way too many things to start with. But it's like learning anything. It's like learning a new language. You have to do it and repeat it. And that's, you saw me with the like when I was walking. You should be able to get it perfect when you're walking, and then you step it up, just do repetition after repetition, and honestly, you'll get to the point where it's just natural to do it that way. You won't even think of doing it another way.
Awesome. I'll be practicing that. Just even the pivoting and stuff most days up until it happens. So thank you.
You'll kill it. Yeah, and I've looked around a fair few videos and stuff that I've seen people doing the beep test, and they have put the pivot in there, but they're always talking about the double foot, but it's a waste of time. It's like you're stopping still rather than you pivot on that front foot. And you can practice if you're not that coordinated with that sort of stuff. I've done a lot of boxing when I grew up, so that is one of the things that you do when you're boxing is you pivot on that front foot. So what you can do is just standing here and get used to it, like pivot around that foot and just get used to swiveling your momentum around that foot before you even go to do it on a line. It's just stuff you can just practice anywhere.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Cheers, mate.
Anyone else got any further stuff? Doesn't look like it. Just give me a sec. I'll have a look in the group. I saw that there was a few. All right. What do you reckon was your best score on the beep test while you're in the regular army? For me, I think I was trying to remember what it was, but it's not massive, but I was up in, I think it was around about 14.2. I think I got to. So not huge, but it's up there. Okay. There's a lot of stuff here. How long distance between lines? 20 meter or 10 meter? Yeah, 20 meters. What helped me when I was going through recruitment was with the beep test, was I looked up at the beep test, memorized exactly how long between each beep. But yeah, okay. All right, so that is it. Doesn't look like there's any more questions in there. All right, guys. Yeah, like I said, really good to see you jumping on and taking advantage of this sort of stuff. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces around with these sort of things all the time. And it's really good to see. So if you've got any any further questions after this, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, if you're interested in my online training, it's completely personalized to you. As like I've got a couple of the clients on here. Yeah, make sure you check out the link in the description. You can follow me, like I'm on Facebook with Outperform Fitness, on Instagram, YouTube, everything. I'm everywhere. All right. And if you haven't joined the group yet, make sure you check out the Facebook group, Defense Force Fitness Forum, and yeah, come in and say hello. But other than that, that is it for this workshop. But I'll be doing plenty more down the track. So I'll catch you all next time. It's good seeing you all.